Whoever's outside, make up your mind. There you go. Cool, awesome. I'm gonna try and be as close to 30 minutes as I can. First off, before I get started, I am very excited to be here and to meet and see myself in all of the beautiful eyes of you. Now, we're going to talk about, I didn't really know how high the bar here is, so I've just tried to encompass things. If this seems overly simplistic, then I'm very happy to go into further detail, but bear with me. All right.
Sorry, you said that bar. They were just trying to raise you up. Go.
Cool. So we'll get started with this. Who here thinks we should be sustainable? Ooh, exciting time. About half, I would say. How many here would think that they would like to live in a better world? All right. Because at the end of my talk today, if this works out, I want to change those thought patterns that you have. The first one, you're going to replace it ideally with the concept of net positivity. And the second idea that we're here to create a quote-unquote better world, I would like you to replace it with Eutopia. And if that is a stretch, just replace it with the best possible. Not better, best possible. Way better idea. And then, the second part of my talk, I'm going to talk about the physical implementation of this. So I'm going to lay out a little bit of a theoretical paradigm, and then how to implement it, and what we're already implementing right now, and probably why you're hearing this right now. And that connects to a vision of how to build 1 million villages. And I know you're going to be interested in that, and probably a few others here in this room that are interested in working on conscious communities. So that'll be that part. Good. But before I start, in this incarnation, I incarnated into the body of a German engineer.
I feel you. Yeah, sorry about that.
That was pretty hilarious in many ways. So I've worked in the corporate world, but I don't recommend. I speak a couple of different languages, and I started a couple of different startups and worked for big companies and more well-known brands and consulted to them. And then I started a couple of startups, and then I exited those. And then I bought a sailboat, which was great because now I could think. And what I thought was, the main question that got us all started was, what is the best thing to do? Like, what's the actual best thing to do right now? And the short answer is, the best thing to do is to do the best thing. Sounds strange, but that's actually logical. And that led me to the concept of net positivity. And then now to stand before myself, as I am right now, talking about Eutopia. And we'll talk about what that means. But let's get this a better world idea started first. So you see, in our society, we are being told that this is better than that. Or that an electric car is even better for the environment. Which it isn't. Because if it was, then it would have what I call a net positive impact. But it doesn't. It has clearly a negative impact. If you look at all the different factors of making any product, but specifically electric cars, if anything, we would have to be fair and say none of them is either good or better for the environment. That is a lie. Okay, that's just pure marketing bullshit. They're not better. If anything, you could say they are maybe less bad, and there is a huge difference between less bad and better. I'll go into that in a second. But what I mean here is really that if you looked at all the numbers, this is 750,000 liters of contaminated water because of a Tesla Cybertruck. Also almost 9 times more than a normal car. They're definitely not better for the environment. They look cool, yeah, but that's about it.
You just said 50K.
Yeah. So, but what we have to realize here is that both are essentially net negative. Okay, so they're both below the line of neutrality, and this is the point here, which is important, because you see, less bad is not the same as better. In fact, it's not at all. So how could we ever create something that's authentically, objectively good? And the way to do that is to use a paradigm called net positivity. And I'll give you an example. So we have sustainability, right? Everybody heard this song from Jack Johnson, I think, like reuse, reduce, recycle. We all repeated it to other people and told them to do this, which is total nonsense. Sorry, it's just reality. Because only about 9% of plastic that we produce gets recycled once. 9%. So you give plastic, when you recycle it, a 91% new chance to get landing in landfill. That's what it does. That's it. Okay? So recycling clearly doesn't work. So how does net positivity address this? With this, which is a pyrolysis plant. So many of myself, in the form of you, will probably realize that plastic is a derivative of petroleum, which means it can be converted in an anaerobe environment back into a derivative of petroleum, such as gasoline, paraffin, diesel, kerosene, whatever. And you do that by breaking up the long hydrocarbon chains that start moving, and if there's no oxygen in it, it can just it'll start breaking down. It's a known technology, and we don't use it much. And you do that?
Yeah, we have a company called Podcast that is doing
Awesome.
pyrolysis.
Perfect. We need to talk. That's probably why we're here. I'm looking forward to that conversation. Have you made a floating one yet?
Yes.
You have?
Yes, we have one in Cancun, we have one in Colombia.
A floating one?
A floating, no.
Holy
No, we
cow.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. We're going to after
We're
this.
going to talk about
Floating.
All right.
Yes.
So how does this work? Okay. How do we change basically all of services and all of products in the world from negative to positive? How do we do that? Okay, that's a kind of important question. So the way to do that is actually pretty easy with a label. This label reads 10x plastic positive. It's all that's needed. And so what we do is we say, you've bought a plastic bottle, that's negative. But because you did, you kicked off a process of eliminating 10 times more bottles than you just bought and released. So by net effect, you actually eliminated 9 more bottles than existed before. So you had a positive impact on the amount of plastic that exists. There's less because of you. And you did this while making money. And I'll show you how. Essentially, in other words, it's okay to create trash as long as you eliminate more than you create. You're doing the world a favor. And this is just to explain how net positivity works, mind you. You can apply this to anything. To forests, to water quality, to social dynamics, to whatever. You can be dish positive. Like I'm literally, when I'm at home, I count the amount of dishes that I'm dirtying to only realize, oh yeah, now I clean twice as much. I don't do that anymore. It comes to habit. But the point is, my sink is never fucking full of dishes because it's always being constantly cleaned up. And that's the method I use. And you can use this for relationships, for nutrition, for business. It's crazy once you realize the power of this paradigm. It's like you see the entire world in different eyes. I can tell you guys, get behind this. It's like, he gets it, you've seen it. So here's how that works, the dynamics of it. Imagine there's 2 bottles, right? There is a negative bottle on the right, and then there is a positive bottle. Which one would you guys buy if they were like on offer right now, right next to each other?
Positive.
The positive one, right? Exactly, because it makes the world a little better. But you wouldn't necessarily, because that depends on price, right? So this one, the net positive one, were like 5 times more expensive. Already many wouldn't buy. You know, I mean, here in this room, probably the highest percentage of people would actually still buy it because it doesn't matter. One is good, the other one isn't. But most people wouldn't. But the fun part about net positivity is that we actually get to the point of parity because it doesn't cost us any money to pyrolyze. We make money pyrolyzing. That means that we don't have to necessarily go and make this more expensive, but it is more valuable, right? Why? Because this is making the world a better place. That makes it a higher product value. That makes it a higher marketing value. That gives the company that runs that product a massive margin. 10, 15, 20% they could add up on top of any product if they wanted to, just because it's a positive product. There could be entire brands created out about just that, because most industries right now, like 99.99% of industries, are net negative. That means this is like the largest market opportunity of time ever. Is not AI, it is net positivity, literally. And these guys get it. Just realize how few people know about this, because to get it like they do, you need to have listened to it before, right? So you kind of like had to have a little bit of a background. And so this is literally just happening. There is net positivity. It's a thing, okay? And what this does is at the moment of parity, right? Where the negative product is actually costing the same, the quality is about the same, what happens is the negative product becomes obsolete. It immediately becomes obsolete. If there was a bottle of the same quality or better for the same price, then but one is positive, the other one isn't, then the other one, no one would buy it. You're stupid to buy it, right? And to be fair, there's people that still make that choice, but still, like from a market dynamics perspective, this is a pretty good position to be in.
I only drink Aquafina.
Right on, yeah. So that being said, now sustainability, right? You heard about that paradigm before, which is a stupid idea. It is, because it just literally is only caring about half of truth, which is we humans have two types of impact, a negative impact and a positive impact. There is only two types of impact we can have in the world. And so this is basically what we've been told is the only thing we could do. And what we can do is we can totally add positive impact to the negative impact, make money doing it, and then have a net positive impact on the world. Make the world better than what it was before. Does that make sense? This is the idea of net positivity. Got this? This is pretty big because you realize that sustainability is another way of mea culpa. It's a mass manipulation technology. It is like to get us to think that we are at fault for fucking up the environment, which largely we aren't, unless you have agreed to let glyphosate into your country or whatever else it is. You are not at fault. You just live in the system that has been created for you, right? And so to blame us on the damage and destruction is literally that's probably the biggest act of gaslighting ever, right? And this is the only time I've ever said that word because I don't like it in other terms, but in this terms it actually is gaslighting. And it basically gives us this feeling that we are at fault. Have you ever felt this when you're like, oh, I'm so at fault for this destruction? And people feel this. They feel at fault for having a plastic bottle in their hands. Not that they were Coca-Cola doesn't feel at fault for producing them. But anyways, and now if we flip the coin on that and we realize that we can be positive, and we realize we're not at fault. We're the solution. We came here to make this go away. We came here to be positive, net positive onto the world. And so we can, with such a simple, stupid thing as outdoing the positive as we do the negative and make money doing it. That's literally it. We don't need much more than that. That solves all of the issues. And how it does that, I'm happy to go into more detail. So who here would like to be sustainable now? Nobody. One.
No. I didn't hear this.
That's hilarious. So, first goal achieved. Second goal. So just to expand on this, we don't have to limit this to bottles. We can literally go any product, and we don't have to limit this to plastic positive. We can do climate positive. We can be water positive. We can be indigenous community positive. We can be, socially positive, mentally positive, emotionally positive. All of those things we can create metrics for, and create a mechanism that will impact that score in a positive way, right? And ideally make money doing so, because that makes it economically viable. So we can make a car that actually sequesters more CO2, although CO2 is not the problem. I know who here believes that CO2 is a gas of death? Nobody, good. All right, and I don't have to say CO2. It has nothing to do with CO2. But it's easier for most people. I tell them, CO2 is not the problem, but planting trees is kind of the solution. So just stick with it. It's fine. it cleans more water and eliminates more waste than it creates. So this is literally a car that instead of doing all those negative things would do net positive things. And that turns that vehicle from bad to good. In such a simple operation, it's just caring about the net impact, okay? That's net positive, first net positive car in the world. There's no other car.
Where do we get this car? What car
Well,
is
that's exactly the point. It's like, it's not about the car anymore. It is about the effect of the car. You can take any car and make it net positive by just knowing the very few things that you have to dial in, like climate, biodiversity, quality of life, all of those things that we can metrify, like we can metrics around, and then we create services to make that positive for you. And an existing car, your existing Jeep, whatever, can be a positive for the world. You can drive a Hummer and make it positive for the world. It literally doesn't have to be a price anymore. Not that prices are not great, Rachel, I like prices. That being said, what is the opposite of dystopia? That was like the lamest chant I've ever heard. It's like, it is actually what most people would say it's utopia, right, with a U, okay? But that is actually not true. That is a lie, because this dude, Thomas More, actually made that word up. Total con job. He cut the first letter off, Eutopia, which is the actual fucking word that we have forgotten.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I love good history lessons.
Eutopia is the actual word for the best possible world made by humans. Let that one thing sink in. Eutopia is the actual word for the best possible world made by humans.
So without the E, it means impossible?
Exactly.
It's not real?
That fucker was a scholar. He was a scholar in obviously he was a Renaissance scholar, so he was completely literate in Latin and Greek.
It was a spell.
It was a spell, 100%. That's what I was telling people. Yeah, it was a massive spell, and we're all just realizing now, 500 fucking years later, and this is going through, books, and this is going through movies. How many movies have you seen that are quote unquote dystopian or quote unquote utopian, like The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio, right? So every beautiful, amazing culture, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden, fuck, everything goes to shit. Yes, I mean. So basically, utopia, we cut off the E, we get to U, and that means then no place. So he literally created consciously the concept of no place and a good place. In other words, the impossible good place. And that was a bit of a dick move, if you ask me. And just for visual reference to realize, utopia doesn't look as much of an opposite as this does, right? It's like no place and good place, impossible but possible. That makes no sense. It's bullshit. It's literally just mental garbage. Well, this is the actual opposite. Not that whoever is using the word utopia, I have used the word utopia myself before, right? I'm very conscious that is a thing that is attractive, but like when you dig into it, this is the actual history of it. So basically we can now join the two and realize that when we are creating net positive impact, then we're moving closer to utopia. When we create the opposite, then we move closer to dystopia. It's literally as easy as that. And so we can also break this down into there's two worlds. There's a utopic world or utopian world, which I like to believe most of us are part of. Which I like to believe most of us are part of. He doesn't. Which I believe most of us are part of. Right, so in other words, net positivity literally drives us towards utopia, okay? Good. That being said, how do we implement all this? Well, the answer is by creating mini utopias. Because the way that utopia creates itself is not everywhere at the same time, but in very specific locations first, and then it grows from there as nodes, right? And like we were talking before. And so the ultimate way of doing that is with a maybe net positive village. Because that is the very definition of it, right? So we make a net positive village. So what does it look like? Well, it's the first village, and we already have the land for this one acquired. We just closed the second deal 3 days ago. So we're all good. We're funded. It all rocks, and we have a funding method to replicate this a million times within our lifetime with all of you.
Oh, yes.
With all of myself, obviously. Sorry for that. Slip. So that being said, how does it look like? Well, first of all, who here knows the origin of the word restaurant? That is French, and it stems from restaurer, which is basically to restore. So the idea was, it was soup kitchens in Paris that they would sell you healthy food when you were sick. So restaurants were for eating to get you healthy? That's fucked up. So what about net positive nutrition? So net positive nutrition is basically a way to eat all of the yummy stuff that you like. Burgers, pizzas, pasta, sushi, whatever have you, just make it net positive. Make sure that you don't have any toxins in it, because that'd be stupid. And then fill it with the most amount of goodies that you can find. And that's it. It becomes net positive really quick when you leave the toxins out. It really, really does. And so there's ways to make all of these things, and what we do then in the net positive village, because I want everybody to eat net positive food in the net positive village, is that every resident in the net positive village gets the food for cost plus 10%. We don't fucking overcharge $15 for a sandwich. We just go, no, it's $3.30. That's literally the ingredients and the labor to put it together. Eat. Everybody has to eat. One single kitchen can provide hundreds and thousands of people with net positive food. Where are all the net positive restaurants in the world? All right? Then, net positive health. It turns out that there are certain health practices that we do, quote unquote, health practices that are killing us. Not a good idea, right? So stop the toxin intake and maximize the positive impact that you can generate with therapy on your body. Same idea. It's a health center. Think about it, hyperbaric chamber treatments. Think about light therapy, sound therapy. Think about not always net positive nutrition as part of that. And then, again, charge no premium. Charge the premium to the visitors, the people that are coming through, the people that are in Airbnb, whatever. We can charge them, but the residents get it for cost plus 10%. Then we do, and that's literally like we're talking about hyperbaric chambers that might cost $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 that you get to use for like $5. Okay? Or less, because that's the amount of power it takes to fill the tank once for you to have one cycle. Net positivity school is a good one. So net positivity basically means net positive education. Well, let's drop the stuff that makes no sense.
Wow.
Yeah, right? So such a radical idea. And then add a lot of stuff that would be making sense, like getting a kid to get a business education when they're 9, and having kids learn how to build their own house when they're 12, and then look at them while they run circles around everybody else because they're a millionaire by like 16. Okay? We can totally do that. It's just a matter of creating that space, and it hasn't really been happening yet. But we know how to do it, and we have kids. So my kids said you're going to go to net positivity school, if that makes sense. And you get to send yours too, by the way. Net positivity is already happening, so you can come. And again, how much is this going to cost? Thousands of dollars? Tens of thousands of dollars? No. Cost plus fucking 10%, because it's a necessity for everybody in the village. We need to eat, we need to have our kids there. Why make our lives harder with such a basic thing as schooling and eating? It makes no sense. And healing, which should be like very accessible, right? To those that chose to participate in this net positive idea. Or in this case, we are in Keynote, so who knows where Keynote is?
I hear there's pink dolphins.
Yes, there are fucking pink dolphins. That is totally
There
right.
you go.
Yeah, so Iquitos is in the middle of the rainforest,
Yeah.
Peruvian rainforest, right on the Amazon actually. We have 80 acres with 1.3 kilometers of waterfront. We have our own laguna. We have 2 lagunas actually. We have really cool Shipibo tribe right next to us too, and part of the project already that are masters in ayahuasca ceremony, and this is where Iquitos has its name from, kind of like, it's like the capital of ayahuasca. That's like where the tradition emerged, where people still do it the way that it's supposed to be done, all the rest of it. We'll have net positive. This might be taking too much time, so I'm just going to go a little bit quicker through this, but this is one of the... I'm not going to be able to do 30 minutes exactly. It might be like 35, is that okay?
Keep going.
Alright. Right.
Both spoken.
So net positive living. Imagine this. Imagine if you had a house that was the right size for you when you bought it and then could grow with you, as opposed to just staying fixed in size. Wouldn't that make a lot more sense? Because then you could start with a seed house. It does actually totally make a lot more sense, by the way, economically speaking. If you divided the capital you would ingest into a 3 or 4 bedroom house and then divide it into 4 units and rent them out as like cabins, it's phenomenal. Like you get a 10x difference at least. Okay, so it is way better to do it this way. But what if that house also was a place that healed you, because it's your temple. It's made for you. It's made to support you in healing and connection, right? Why don't we marry those together? Why don't we just make houses that are optimized for us in all ways, you know? This is called Refugico, so I've designed that. Another presentation another day. Then there is net positive business, which I find very much important, which is the idea of how to even conceive of net positive businesses in the first place. How do you make the business that you're already running right now net positive, but also how can we invent even new ones? How can we fuse them together? How can we create entire business groups and leverage each other's expertise as much as we leverage a common goal? And this is a bit of a critical question here, okay? I'm going to propose the best possible vision for all of us.
Okay.
Okay?
Go.
Ready for this shit? I propose we build the best possible world.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not a better world. Not a better world. Right on, right
that's
on.
possible.
Yeah. So please don't. This has real world implications. This means I don't want to hear anybody talk about a better world anymore. We talk about the best possible world. This is a way better way of thinking about it. Okay, it will empower you. Think about your personal best possible life. How does your personal best possible life look like? What do you see? Who are you working with? What do you surround yourself? What is your genius is all about? That is ultimately your best possible life. And the best possible world is a sum total of all of our individual best possible lives. So that's how that actually is made. So if you're not building your personal best possible life, you're literally not building Eutopia. Okay? Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So besides that, we're going to have a lot more of this, Utopia talk. As you can imagine, there's a lot more. I've been working on this for 7 years. There is a real business creation and syndication process behind this, which is we create an entire structure for it so that people can plug in their thing into this. You're literally think about if Eutopia was a company. What form would it take on? What if it was a foundation? What form would it take on? What if it was a marketplace? What form would it take on? And then we take all of those forms and put them together.
Could be like a corporation as well, huh?
We're the biggest corporation in the world at that point. Like if we can literally be, because right now, I just realized, I just told you, there is a way to outcompete 99.9% of all market products. Simply by making the exact same products net positive. And that is not stoppable. Because as soon as you do it, there is no logical or any other reason to choose the worst over the best. And that's what consumers can be told too. So we can literally make any single product you can think of and make a net positive version of that, which is huge.
Alliance!
Now, pyrolysis plant, that's why I asked you specifically. Oh yeah, so that's my 30 minutes. I'm not going to be too... 5 more, okay, cool. I think I can do it fine. Pyrolysis plant, that's part of that village specifically, so we're building one, and we have a budget for it, and we should talk.
Okay.
Then we have the next phase of the Net Positive Village, Iniquitos, is launching in the next phase. It's already first phase already over, but the next one is launching on the 18th of April. So if you want to know more about that, I invite you to register at netpositivevillage.com. But now the critical question. How do we build Utopia within a single generation? And I'm glad I have 5 minutes for that. It's not a big question. It's actually fairly easy, and that's the fun about it. You can, if you look it through the lens that we just looked through, you can realize how. And it's basically to create a virally, or actually Fibonacci growing sequence of villages that spawn more villages, that spawn more villages, that spawn more villages, that spawn more villages. And to do that, and to achieve that, we have created Net Positive Village as a framework, not as an individual instance. So it's not my village as much as it is a framework for all of us to make villages. Okay? And the villages and how that works in a second, I'll talk about that. So basically, is there a group of human beings crazy enough, all in one room, that could conceive of the notion that we could, within our lifetimes, build 1 million net positive villages?
That's the plan.
Who's that? One person? That's one? 2? All in, all right. So, how do you do that? Like, how could we? I'm probably going to go over my 5 minutes.
Keep going, just keep going.
We gotta turn the room.
Okay. So I'm trying to, this is literally the last part of it, so we'll get through it. So first of all, we need a frictionless development method. And the way to do this is that we realized that we can identify what we call sweet spots, which are like the best possible locations they could be, because they're super cheap, yet they have all the benefits of everything. And they're just like flowers that are ready to blossom, right? And we identify those, and then we find landowners here. And we go in with the landowners and we say, hey landowner, would you like to partner with us? So we create a company, you bring in your land, we bring in the development, and we create a new company together. So we acquire the land basically for $0. We just have it in-house immediately, right? Which gets us into an entirely new framework, because now we don't have to sell the potential of something happening, but the reality of something happening, because it's 100% backed by the landowner on day one. Okay? This is a way to find land to develop communities which can be replicated frictionless everywhere in the world right now. Yes?
Yes.
Sweet. Then we do something I call an IVO. An IVO is an initial village offering. And the IVO is not necessarily on the blockchain or holochain or other chains. It's literally just that. It's an initial offering. So you, after you came together with a landowner and yourself, you go in and say, hey, I've got this cool project, and you tell that to the people that you'd like to be part of that process, and that's what we call an IVO. And then from there, we grow this. We grow this through our financial growth model, which is basically, we have a 3x value increase, and how that all works, it takes too long to explain, but I'm happy to explain it to you. For now, take my word for it if you can. This is legitimately actually possible. Like, we talk about a 3x value increase within 18 months. Totally possible, done it before, and I'm actually working with way different numbers because I'm also, whatever, doesn't matter. Point is, we have developed the village in 3 stages. First stage is what we call the seed stage, which is like the basic stuff coming in. Second stage is where we add the first couple of valuable amenities and things that are just raising the bar on that community. And then the third stage is what we call Eutopia stage, where we just go crazy and we do whatever we feel is the most utopian thing to do. And that can, again, we get to 600% ROI in 45 months, especially in these locations. Okay, so this is just the tip of the iceberg. When you really dive into this, we can go closer to 3,000% in 60 months. But again, conversation for another day. And here's how we're doing this. Now we realize we have one method to do it, okay? To replicate with the landowners that are frictionless. So the only thing I have to do is to share all that knowledge with you, okay? Of how to do all these things. How to raise the funds, how to get a landowner deal, how to find a sweet spot, how to negotiate those deals, how to reach out to first investors, how to close those deals with investors, how to do all those things that you're well capitalized and you can move forward. And this is the last slide, I believe. And then we basically support you in that entire process. We give you the brand, we give you the technology, we give you the everything you need to actually make it happen. So even if you have no idea about real estate development, you don't have to, because with this model we can literally teach you how, and then give you all the knowledge that you need, and then we just grow that movement to 1 million users. 1 million people that went through that program as an online course, and we make 1 million founders that can, in completely at the same time, found net positive villages all around the world. Like that. If you'd like to live in a net positive village, help or support us, invest in net positivity, contact us, develop your land with us, learn how to do this, all of those things, then talk to me, find me, talk to me. Ideally, because I might not have enough chronological time to talk to all of myself, is for you to join the Eutopia movement. And that would be actually, if you did anything today, do me a favor and sign up on the Eutopia movement. Because you have all just agreed we are part of the Eutopia movement, yet we're not all connected yet. That makes no sense. So we shall. Is that good?
That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing this beautiful life's work of yours.
It's just beginning.
Okay, well, it's going to be your life story.
I'm just getting started.
This is the beginning.
I love it.
Guys, this has been day 1. I am so stunned at the level of talks, at the participation. Thanks everybody for being here. The best part is next.